Now I had the time of my life.
Morgan, you're out of here.
What you talking about?
You don't have the right temperament for the trade.
Do you have any sense of how much longer you have to live?
Oh, goodness.
The tributes are pouring in tonight for the actor Patrick Swayze. He died at the age of 57.
Patrick Swayze's abandoned house tells a story of Hollywood's cruelest whispers and a man who defied every stereotype they threw at him.
Find out, what the protections this character puts up to insulate themselves. Yet when the camera rolls, you have to have the courage to throw all that work out the window and let magic happen.
Behind the ranch gates where he spent his final days lay secrets about his net worth, his marriage, and the truth about the rumors that haunted his career.
I would have never believed it. No, I would have believed it, but not like this. I mean,
This is the untold story of how America's most beloved leading man became the target of Hollywood's most persistent lie. The 20-acre ranch in the San Fernando Valley sits quietly now. Its once manicured grounds showing signs of neglect that speak to the absence of the man who called it home. Patrick Swayze died here on September 14, 2009, surrounded by the rolling hills and horse pastures that had given him peace during his final battle with pancreatic cancer.
It's amazing what love can change and what courage love can breed in other people.
Yeah.
And that outpouring of support has helped him find the courage to survive more than a year with this deadly disease.
The property, purchased in the 1980s when Dirty Dancing made him a household name, became his sanctuary from the relentless scrutiny of Hollywood gossip. Here, among the stables and riding trails, Swayze could escape the whispers that had followed him since his early days as a dancer in Houston. After his death, the ranch began its slow transformation into what tabloids would later call an abandoned house. Lisa Nemi, his widow, struggled to maintain the expansive property while grieving the loss of her partner of 34 years. The swimming pool that once hosted legendary Hollywood parties grew murky, and the gardens that Swayze had personally tended began to overgrow. The decline wasn't intentional, but rather the natural result of a property losing its caretaker. Swayze had been hands-on with every aspect of the ranch, from training horses to landscaping. Without his daily presence, the place that had been a symbol of his success slowly became a monument to his absence. Neighbors reported seeing Lisa walking the grounds alone, sometimes stopping at the spots where she and Patrick had shared quiet moments away from the chaos of fame. The ranch had been their retreat from a world that never seemed satisfied with just accepting Patrick Swayze as he was. The property's deterioration became a metaphor for how quickly Hollywood forgets its stars once they're gone. The same media that had spent decades speculating about Swayze's private life now focused on the physical decay of his former home, turning his sanctuary into another source of sensational headlines. Real estate agents who eventually listed the property described it as having good bones, despite the obvious neglect. The phrase seemed fitting for a place that had sheltered a man whose career had similarly weathered storms while maintaining its essential strength and dignity. Houston in the 1960s wasn't the kind of place where boys typically spent their afternoons in ballet studios, but Patrick Wayne Swayze was never typical. Born into a family where his mother, Patsy, ran one of the city's most respected dance schools, Patrick's childhood was soundtracked by piano music and the rhythm of feet against hardwood floors. Patsy Swayze was a force of nature who had built her dance academy from nothing, creating a haven for young performers in a city known more for oil than art. She recognized her son's natural grace early and pushed him into training that would shape not just his career, but the rumors that would follow him for decades. While other boys his age played football or baseball, Patrick spent hours perfecting pirouettes and learning the discipline that ballet demanded. His father, Don Swayze, an engineering draftsman, supported his son's artistic pursuits, even as neighborhood kids began to whisper about the boy who preferred dance class to Little League. The whispers started early and never really stopped. In 1960s Texas, a boy who could leap and spin with the grace of a professional dancer was an anomaly that made people uncomfortable. Patrick learned to ignore the comments, but they planted seeds of insecurity that would grow alongside his talent. His siblings watched as Patrick navigated the complexity of being different in a world that valued conformity. His younger brothers would later describe the protective bubble their mother created around Patrick's dancing, shielding him from critics while nurturing his obvious gifts. The early exposure to professional dance gave Patrick an understanding of his body and movement that would later translate into his iconic film performances. But it also marked him as someone who didn't fit traditional masculine stereotypes, a label that would prove both beneficial and burdensome throughout his career. By his teenage years, Patrick had already experienced the sting of being judged for his artistic choices. The experience taught him resilience, but also made him acutely aware of how quickly people could turn talent into something suspicious or shameful. Patrick's talent outgrew his mother's studio by the time he reached his late teens, leading to his acceptance into the Houston Ballet's professional training program. The opportunity represented validation of his abilities, but it also intensified the scrutiny he faced as one of the few male dancers in a world dominated by tradition and expectation. The Houston Ballet in the 1970s was a respected institution that had produced dancers for companies around the world. Patrick's acceptance into their program marked him as a serious artist, but it also placed him in an environment where rumors about male dancers were treated as fact rather than speculation. Fellow dancers remember Patrick as intensely focused and driven, someone who approached ballet with the same determination that others brought to competitive sports. His natural athleticism, combined with years of training, made him stand out among his peers, but it also made him a target for gossip that extended beyond the dance world. The physical demands of ballet training shaped Patrick's body in ways that would later serve him well in Hollywood, but they also contributed to an image that some people found threatening. His combination of strength and grace challenged conventional ideas about masculinity in ways that made audiences both attracted to and suspicious of his screen presence. During his time with the Houston Ballet, Patrick began to understand that his career would always involve defending his choices. Interviews from this period show a young man already developing the diplomatic skills he would need to navigate Hollywood's rumor mill, learning to deflect personal questions while remaining professional. The transition from ballet to acting wasn't planned, but rather born of necessity when a knee injury threatened to end his dance career. The same physicality that had made him a gifted dancer would become his ticket to Hollywood, but it would also follow him as evidence in the court of public opinion that insisted on categorizing every aspect of his identity. His departure from Houston for New York and eventually Los Angeles marked the beginning of a journey that would make him famous while simultaneously making his private life a subject of constant speculation and debate. Hollywood in the late 1970s had little patience for nuance when it came to male performers who brought sensitivity and grace to their roles. Patrick Swayze's dance background, which should have been viewed as an asset, instead became ammunition for an industry obsessed with maintaining rigid definitions of masculinity on screen. The Whisper campaigns began almost immediately after Patrick started auditioning for film and television roles. Casting directors who appreciated his unique combination of strength and fluidity were often overruled by executives who worried that audiences wouldn't accept a leading man who could perform ballet with the same skill he brought to fight scenes. The stereotypes surrounding male dancers had deep roots in American culture, where artistic expression by men was often viewed with suspicion. Patrick found himself constantly having to prove his ways that his peers who came from football or traditional acting backgrounds never experienced. Industry insiders from this period describe a systematic bias against men who displayed what were considered feminine qualities, regardless of their actual orientation. Patrick's willingness to show vulnerability and emotion in his performances made him both compelling and controversial in equal measure. The irony wasn't lost on Patrick that his dance training, which had given him the physical control and emotional range that made him an exceptional actor, was being used as evidence against his credibility as a leading man. He learned to downplay his ballet background in interviews, focusing instead on his athletic achievements and mechanical interests. Fellow actors who worked with Patrick during this period remember his frustration with having to constantly defend choices that predated his acting career by decades. The need to justify his artistic background created a defensive posture that would characterize many of his public appearances throughout his career. The gossip mill's focus on his dance background also ignored the reality of his personal life, including his relationship with Lisa Niemi, whom he had met while she was a student at his mother's dance academy. Their relationship, which began long before fame complicated everything, was genuine and deep, but it would be repeatedly questioned by those looking for hidden truths. The love story between Patrick Swayze and Lisa Niemi began in 1970 when she was just 15 years old and enrolled in his mother's dance academy. Patrick, 5 years her senior, and already showing signs of the charisma that would later captivate audiences worldwide, was immediately drawn to the young dancer who combined technical skill with an artistic sensitivity that matched his own. Their courtship unfolded against the backdrop of Patsy Swayze's studio, where both were pursuing their passion for dance with the intensity that would later characterize their relationship. Lisa's dedication to her craft impressed Patrick, while her genuine personality provided a refuge from the competitive atmosphere that often surrounded professional dancers. The 5-year age difference that seemed significant during their early relationship became irrelevant as they matured together, sharing dreams of artistic success and supporting each other through the challenges of pursuing careers in the performing arts. Their bond deepened through countless hours of rehearsal and performance, creating a foundation that would prove unshakable despite decades of public scrutiny. When they married in 1975, Patrick was 23 and Lisa was 18, both still believing that talent and dedication would be enough to overcome any obstacles their careers might present. The wedding was a small affair attended by family and fellow dancers, a celebration of love that took place far from the spotlight that would later examine every aspect of their relationship. Their early years together were marked by financial struggle and artistic uncertainty as both pursued their dreams in an industry that offered few guarantees. Lisa supported Patrick's transition from dance to acting while continuing her own career as a dancer and choreographer, creating a partnership that was both personal and professional. The strength of their relationship became evident during Patrick's early Hollywood struggles, when rejection and criticism might have driven apart a couple with less secure foundations. Lisa's unwavering belief in Patrick's talent provided stability during periods when the industry seemed determined to pigeonhole him based on preconceptions about his background. Their love story, which began in a Houston dance studio and would span 34 years, became both an inspiration and a target for those who insisted that Patrick's public persona must be hiding deeper secrets about his true nature. Patrick's arrival in Hollywood coincided with an era when leading men were expected to project an almost cartoonish version of masculinity, making his nuanced approach to character development both refreshing and commercially risky. Early casting sessions revealed an industry unprepared for an actor who could convey strength through vulnerability rather than aggression. His first significant role came in the 1979 skateboarding film Skate Town, USA, where his dance background proved invaluable in mastering the physical demands of the character. However, the film's poor reception reinforced industry skepticism about Patrick's commercial viability as a leading man, leading to a series of smaller roles that failed to showcase his full range. Television work provided more consistent employment, with appearances on shows like MASH and The Renegades, demonstrating his versatility while keeping him visible to casting directors. These roles often required him to play against type, portraying tough guys and rebels who bore little resemblance to the sensitive artist that rumors suggested he was in real life. The challenge of establishing himself as a serious actor while constantly defending his masculine credentials created a professional tension that influenced every career decision. Patrick learned to choose roles that would counter the whispers about his sex, sometimes at the expense of projects that might have better showcased his unique talents. Industry relationships during this period were complicated by the constant undercurrent of speculation about Patrick's personal life. Fellow actors and directors often found themselves having to address questions about Patrick's character and professionalism, creating an environment where his work was frequently overshadowed by gossip about his identity. The breakthrough that would change everything was still years away, but the foundation was being laid through small roles that gradually built his reputation as a reliable performer performer who brought intensity and authenticity to every project. His persistence during this period, despite the constant pressure to conform to narrow definitions of leading man material, demonstrated the determination that would eventually make him a star. The irony of Patrick's early Hollywood experience was that the same qualities that made casting directors nervous about his commercial appeal were precisely the attributes that would later make him one of the most beloved leading men of his generation. The summer of 1987 transformed Patrick Swayze from a struggling actor into an international sensation, but it also intensified the scrutiny surrounding his personal life in ways that no one could have anticipated. Dirty Dancing became a cultural phenomenon that made Patrick's combination of sensitivity and sexuality irresistible to audiences, while simultaneously fueling new rounds of speculation about his off-screen identity. The film's success was built on Patrick's ability to embody Johnny Castle.
Now I had the time of
A character who was simultaneously dangerous and tender, confident and vulnerable. His chemistry with Jennifer Grey created movie magic, but it was his solo dance sequences that truly captured audiences' imagination and reignited old questions about his background. The famous scene where Johnny performs alone in his cabin, dancing with an intensity that was both athletic and sensual, became one of the film's most memorable moments. However, the same sequence that thrilled audiences also provided ammunition for gossip columnists, who saw his comfort with movement and emotion as evidence of hidden aspects of his personality. Entertainment industry insiders remember the period following Dirty Dancing's release as a time when Patrick's sexuality became a topic of constant speculation in ways that seemed disconnected from the reality of his marriage to Lisa.
I would have never believed it. Well, I would have believed it, but not like this.
The film's success had made him a sex, but the very qualities that made him attractive to female audiences apparently made some industry observers suspicious of his authenticity. The irony wasn't lost on Patrick that playing a character who challenged conventional masculine stereotypes had made him both more famous and more scrutinized than ever before. Interviews from this period show him struggling to balance pride in his performance with frustration at the persistent questions about his personal life. The film's impact on popular culture was undeniable, spawning countless imitations and establishing Patrick as a leading man capable of carrying major motion pictures. However, the success also meant that every aspect of his life, from his marriage to his choice of friends, would be examined through the lens of public fascination with his screen persona. The transformation from unknown actor to cultural icon happened almost overnight, but the accompanying scrutiny would prove to be a burden that Patrick would carry for the rest of his career. The 1990 supernatural romance Ghost presented Patrick Swayze with an opportunity to demonstrate his range as an actor while simultaneously challenging Hollywood's narrow definitions of masculine leading men. His portrayal of Sam Wheat, a murdered banker who communicates with his grieving girlfriend through a psychic, required an emotional vulnerability that few action stars of the era were willing to display.
Shot, huh? That'll do it every time.
The film's success proved that audiences were hungry for a different kind of male protagonist, one who could express love and loss without compromising his essential masculinity. Patrick's performance walked a delicate line between strength and sensitivity, creating a character who was undeniably masculine while also being emotionally accessible in ways that traditional action heroes rarely achieved. The famous pottery scene, where Sam's spirit guides Molly's hands at the pottery wheel, became an iconic moment in cinema history precisely because it captured an intimacy that felt both erotic and innocent. However, the scene's success also provided new material for those who insisted on reading deeper meanings into Patrick's comfort with romantic expression. Industry observers noted that Patrick's willingness to take on roles that required emotional range set him apart from his contemporaries, who often avoided projects that might challenge their tough guy images. His choice to embrace vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness marked him as either brave or foolish, depending on one's perspective. The film's massive commercial success silenced many critics who had questioned Patrick's box office appeal, but it also intensified scrutiny of his personal life. The contrast between his on-screen emotional availability and the persistent rumors about his created a narrative tension that tabloids found irresistible. Ghost earned Patrick a Golden Globe nomination and established him as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, but it also cemented his reputation as an actor willing to take risks that other leading men avoided. The film's success proved that audiences were ready for a more complex vision of masculinity, even if the industry remained skeptical. The legacy of Ghost extends beyond its commercial success to its impact on how romantic leading men could be portrayed in mainstream cinema, with Patrick's performance serving as a template for actors who wanted to combine strength with emotional honesty. The 1990s marked the golden age of tabloid journalism, when celebrity gossip became a multi-million-dollar industry and public figures found their private lives dissected with unprecedented scrutiny. Patrick Swayze, already a target due to his dance background and sensitive screen persona, became a favorite subject for publications looking to manufacture controversy where none existed. The tabloid machine operated on the principle that any celebrity who didn't aggressively assert their heterosexuality must be hiding something, creating an environment where Patrick's artistic choices and personal relationships were constantly reinterpreted through the lens of suspicion. His refusal to play the Hollywood game of public romance and manufactured relationships only fueled more speculation. Publications like the National Enquirer and Star Magazine developed sophisticated networks of sources willing to provide quotes and stories that supported predetermined narratives about celebrity secrets. Patrick's case was particularly appealing because his public image as a romantic leading man contrasted with persistent industry whispers about his true nature. The economic incentives driving tabloid coverage meant that sensational stories about Patrick's sex were more valuable than accurate reporting about his actual life. Editors understood that readers were drawn to stories that promised to reveal hidden truths about beloved celebrities, regardless of the evidence supporting such claims. The impact on Patrick's personal life was significant, with friends and family members reporting constant harassment from photographers and reporters looking for evidence to support their theories. The stress of living under such scrutiny affected not only Patrick, but also Lisa, who found herself defending their marriage against increasingly creative conspiracy theories. Industry professionals who worked with Patrick during this period describe a man who was increasingly guarded about his personal life, understanding that any comment or gesture could be twisted to support the narratives that tabloids were determined to promote. The constant vigilance required to protect his privacy took a toll on his natural openness and spontaneity. The tabloid phenomenons surrounding Patrick's life reflected broader cultural anxieties about masculinity in American society, with his case serving as a lightning rod for debates about what constituted acceptable behavior for male public figures in an increasingly complex media landscape. Patrick Swayze's decision to star in To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, represented one of the boldest career moves of his professional life, but it also provided his critics with what they considered the ultimate evidence for their long-standing theories about his sex.
Just as I expected. Do you like my nails?
The 1995 comedy, which featured Patrick alongside Wesley Snipes and John Leguizamo as drag queens on a cross-country road trip, challenged every assumption about his image as a traditional leading man. The role of Vida Boheme required Patrick to master not only the physical aspects of drag performance, but also the emotional truth of a character struggling with identity and acceptance. His commitment to the part was total, spending months learning to walk in heels, perfect his makeup technique, and develop a believable feminine persona that honored the drag community rather than mocking it. Industry insiders were divided about the wisdom of Patrick's choice, with some praising his artistic courage, while others predicted career suicide. The decision to take on such a controversial role demonstrated either remarkable confidence or dangerous recklessness, depending on one's perspective on Hollywood's tolerance for risk-taking by established stars. The film's production became a media circus, with entertainment reporters treating every behind-the-scenes photograph as potential evidence of hidden truths about Patrick's personal life. His obvious comfort in drag costume and his respectful approach to the character were interpreted by some as signs of secret knowledge rather than professional dedication. Patrick's preparation for the role included extensive research into drag culture and consultation with professional performers who taught him the nuances of feminine presentation. His commitment to authenticity impressed his co-stars and directors, but it also provided ammunition for those determined to find deeper meanings in his artistic choices. The film's modest commercial success was overshadowed by the controversy surrounding Patrick's participation, with tabloids treating his willingness to appear in drag as confirmation of long-held suspicions. The irony that his most daring performance was being used as evidence against his credibility as a leading man wasn't lost on industry observers. The legacy of To Wong Foo in Patrick's career was complex, demonstrating his range as an actor while simultaneously intensifying the scrutiny that had followed him since his early days in Hollywood. 34 years of marriage should have been enough to silence rumors about Patrick Swayze's sexuality. But in the bizarre logic of celebrity gossip, his long-term relationship with Lisa Niemi became evidence of an elaborate cover-up rather than proof of genuine love. The couple's inability to have children, despite their obvious desire for a family, provided tabloids with additional ammunition for their conspiracy theories. The lavender marriage narrative, which suggested that Patrick and Lisa's relationship was a mutual arrangement to hide their true sexual orientations, became a persistent theme in gossip publications throughout the 1990s. The theory required ignoring decades of evidence of their genuine affection and shared interests, but it provided a convenient explanation for those determined to believe their predetermined assumptions. Friends and family members who witnessed Patrick and Lisa's relationship firsthand consistently described a couple whose love was authentic and passionate, but their testimonies were often dismissed as part of the alleged conspiracy. The idea that two people could maintain such an elaborate deception for over 3 decades seemed less plausible to observers than the simpler explanation that they were genuinely devoted to each other. The couple's fertility struggles, which they discussed openly in later interviews, were reinterpreted by gossip columnists as evidence that their marriage lacked physical intimacy. The cruel irony that their personal pain was being used to support theories about their relationship's illegitimacy added an extra layer of suffering to an already difficult situation. Lisa's career as a dancer and choreographer, which had flourished alongside Patrick's acting success, was also subjected to scrutiny as gossips looked for signs that she was complicit in maintaining his alleged false image. Her obvious talent and independent achievements were overshadowed by speculation about her role in Patrick's supposed deception. The strain of constantly defending their relationship against baseless accusations took a toll on both Patrick and Lisa, who found themselves having to prove their love to a public that seemed determined to believe the worst about their motivations. The experience of having their most intimate relationship subjected to such skepticism created a defensive posture that characterized many of their public appearances. The persistence of rumors about their marriage, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, revealed more about society's discomfort with men who challenged traditional masculine stereotypes than it did about the actual nature of Patrick and Lisa's relationship. Patrick Swayze's approach to addressing the persistent rumors about his sexuality evolved throughout his career, shifting from bemused dismissal to frustrated confrontation as the speculation continued to overshadow his professional achievements. His rare public statements on the subject revealed a man caught between his desire for privacy and his need to protect his reputation and marriage. Early in his career, Patrick's strategy was to ignore the gossip entirely, believing that his work would speak for itself and that responding to unfounded rumors would only legitimize them. This approach proved naive in the face of a tabloid industry that interpreted silence as confirmation and created increasingly elaborate theories to explain his reluctance to address their claims directly. The turning point came in the mid-1990s when the rumors began affecting not only his career prospects, but also his wife's well-being. Lisa's visible distress at having their marriage constantly questioned prompted Patrick to become more aggressive in defending their relationship, though his responses often seemed to fuel additional speculation rather than ending it. Interviews from this period show Patrick struggling to find the right tone for addressing rumors that he found both offensive and absurd. His frustration was evident when he pointed out the logical inconsistencies in the gossip while expressing bewilderment that his artistic choices were being used as evidence of deception about his personal life. The challenge Patrick faced was that any response to the rumors could be interpreted as either confirmation or deflection, depending on the predispositions of the audience. His attempts to set the record straight often backfired, providing new material for gossip columnists who analyzed his word choices and body language for hidden meanings. Legal action was considered but ultimately rejected as impractical, given the tabloid's skill at staying just within the bounds of defensible speculation. The frustration of being unable to effectively combat lies about his personal life, while maintaining his public image, created a constant source of stress that affected both his professional and personal relationships. Patrick's experience fighting the rumor mill revealed the powerlessness that even successful celebrities faced when confronted with a media ecosystem designed to profit from controversy, regardless of its basis in reality. The diagnosis of stage 4 pancreatic cancer in January 2008 transformed Patrick Swayze's life in ways that made previous controversies seem trivial by comparison. The disease, which carries one of the worst prognoses in oncology, forced him to confront his mortality while continuing to work and maintain his public image under the scrutiny of a media establishment that had spent decades speculating about his personal life. Patrick's response to the diagnosis was characteristically determined, as he chose to continue working on his television series, The Beast, while undergoing aggressive chemotherapy treatment. His decision to maintain his professional commitments despite his declining health demonstrated the same dedication that had characterized his entire career, earning respect from industry colleagues who had witnessed his struggles with both illness and gossip. The physical changes wrought by cancer treatment were impossible to hide, leading to widespread speculation about his condition, even as he attempted to maintain privacy about his medical situation. The irony that his battle with a genuine life-threatening illness was being subjected to the same skeptical scrutiny as the manufactured controversies of his career wasn't lost on those who knew him personally. Lisa's role as his primary caretaker during the cancer battle revealed the depth of their relationship in ways that finally silenced some critics who had questioned the authenticity of their marriage. Her unwavering dedication during his illness provided undeniable evidence of their love, though it came at a time when Patrick was too ill to fully appreciate the vindication. The courage Patrick displayed during his 20-month battle with cancer impressed even his harshest critics, as he continued to work and maintain his dignity despite the progressive deterioration of his condition. His refusal to let the disease define him paralleled his lifelong resistance to letting gossip and speculation determine his public image. The media coverage of Patrick's illness marked a shift in tone from speculation to sympathy, as even tabloid publications seemed to recognize that some boundaries shouldn't be crossed. The respect shown for his privacy during his final months provided a stark contrast to the intrusive coverage that had characterized much of his career. Patrick's battle with cancer ultimately became a testament to his character, revealing strength and grace under pressure that transcended any previous controversies about his personal life or professional choices. The last months of Patrick Swayze's life were spent at the San Fernando Valley Ranch that had served as his refuge from the pressures of fame for over 2 decades. Surrounded by the horses he loved and the rolling hills that had provided peace during his most challenging periods, Patrick faced his final battle with the same dignity that had characterized his response to decades of speculation and controversy. Lisa remained by his side throughout the progression of his illness, providing care and comfort while managing the practical aspects of his medical treatment and business affairs. Their relationship during this period was marked by an intimacy and tenderness that provided final proof of the authentic love that had sustained them through 34 years of marriage and public scrutiny. The decision to spend his final months at home rather than in a medical facility reflected Patrick's desire to maintain control over his environment and circumstances to the extent possible. The ranch, which had been a symbol of his success and independence, became a sanctuary where he could focus on his relationships and legacy rather than his declining health. Friends and family members who visited during this period described a man who remained focused on others despite his own suffering, expressing gratitude for the support he had received and concern for those who would be affected by his loss. His grace under such extreme circumstances impressed everyone who witnessed his final months. The physical deterioration caused by his illness was undeniable, but Patrick's essential spirit remained unchanged until the end. His ability to find moments of joy and connection, even as his body failed, demonstrated a strength of character that transcended his physical condition and provided comfort to those who loved him. The media coverage of Patrick's final months was notably respectful, suggesting that even the most aggressive gossip publications recognized the inappropriateness of intruding on such a private and sacred time. The silence that surrounded his last days provided a stark contrast to the noise that had often characterized his public life. September 14, 2009, marked not only the end of Patrick's life, but also the final chapter in a story that had been shaped by both genuine achievement and manufactured controversy, leaving behind a legacy that would be remembered for his talent rather than the rumors that had once seemed so important. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.